Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. For return viewers, welcome back. And for new viewers, my name is Dennis Akoyo Alitsi, and I'm humbled that you have tuned in. So, in this specific channel, we dissect several financial skills which can help or empower us to better manage our personal finances. And if this is content that you relate with, kindly feel free to like and subscribe. The buttons are just at the bottom of your screen. So in today's video, we are going to focus on how do you budget your income. And I'm not going to look at it from an in-depth perspective, but rather from the how will I put it? From the rules that can guide you to better plan or budget your income. So this is the 50-30-20 rule. And this rule will be able to guide you so that you are able to know what are my needs, what are my wants, and most importantly, how can I save? Because most of us, the first thing that we think of as are bills. We pay bills, and towards the end of the day, you are left with nothing to save. You are left with nothing maybe to even treat yourself or even to go out, and that is not the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to clearly understand, first of all, what are my needs? Second of all, what are my wants? Third of all, how can I save? And you see, when you have this clear projection before you even receive your money, it will help you now better plan for the income, better have a good budget on how you are going to spend your income. Because one thing I've noticed is most of us we live way beyond our means, and we end up eating hand to mouth. So basically, you're earning, let's say, like 100K, you're earning, let's say, like 250,000, but 2 days after you're paid, you have nothing. You have not saved, you have only paid your bills, or even at most times you are in debts. So you're paying your debts, you're paying your bills, and that's it. So you with somebody who's living hand to mouth, somebody who's being paid daily, you have no difference. The only difference is you're one paycheck away from poverty. So how can we change this? How are we able to address this? You are supposed to start acting now. And by this I mean, first of all, go and analyze your monthly budget. Then try and see if this rule can assist you to apply in your budget. It is usually called the 50-30-20% rule. So let's just have a breakdown of what each percentage means so that you clearly understand how best will I be able to plan and manage my income as far as budgeting is concerned. So let's get into it. So the 50% that takes the larger percentage of your income, that is the needs. This includes what is your rent. This includes the essentials that are supposed to be included in your budget. So this includes what is your rent, what is your food, what is your transportation, what is your utilities, what is the cost of your utilities, how much do you want to allocate on your utilities, rent, transportation, etc, etc, etc. So this is what you cannot miss. This is what has to be included in your budget because you must eat, you must travel to work, you must have your groceries, you must pay your utilities, you must pay your rental payment. So this is inclusive of the 50%. So if you have a budget, just a minute. So if in your budget this is surpassing 50%, you're doing it all wrong. If it is below 50%, then you're doing it right. Remember, this is not supposed to exceed 50%. When you sit down and say, okay, let me check on my budget. This is my rent, these are my utilities payment, this is food, this is transport, and it is within the 50% of your income, then you're getting it right. But if it is more, it is time for you to sit down, recheck, reevaluate, and try and come up with a new reasonable budget. Then let us go to the wants. Now, what are the wants? The wants constitute the 30% of the 100% of your entire income. So when we come to the wants, these are the non-essentials, things that you need but you can do away with in one point or another based on your financial needs at that specific time. So these are the things like hobbies. Do you like traveling? Do you want to put that into your budget? Please do. Do you like swimming? Do you like going for eateries out there? Do you like entertaining yourself, maybe going out, teaching yourself a little bit? Is that what you're into? So if that's what you're into, this is the 30% of your income. At times you can do away with and find people are using this 30% maybe to maybe on savings. They are also using this maybe on the essential stuff. But what I will advise you, I'd rather stick with the 50% on the essential stuff. Then if for the 30% I can save more, the better, instead of vice versa, using part of the 30% as your expenses. I think you will be trading on very murky waters. So the best thing for you is to ensure that that 30% you assign it on your needs. These are the non-essential stuff. Then let us go to the 20%. 20% here now, it is the savings and the debt repayment that you might be having. Because let's be realistic. Most of us have debt that are supposed to be financed. So probably you're supposed to also factor that in. So the 20% you're supposed to put it on your savings, and this is what is also supposed to facilitate your debt repayment plans that you might be having. Here is where you also have your emergency fund. Here is where you also have your savings. And here is also where you are supposed to be removing funds to help you pay your debts. What I will advise is for those, apologies for that. So for those who don't have debts, better off for you, because you can be sure that 20% every month is going to my savings. And I think that is the direction we are all supposed to take. Now, let us now have a practical breakdown of how this 30-20% looks like to somebody who is earning, let's say, 50,000. So if you're earning 50,000, what does this look like? So beginning with now, let's just give a budget breakdown of the needs. Let's first start with the need, the 50%. So 50% of 50,000, that gives us 25,000. Now, I'm just looking at, okay, how does this look like practically? So assuming maybe the rent, you are renting, let's say 30% of your total income. So that is 30% of your total income, and you're earning 15 and you're earning 50k. That is around 15,000, if I'm not wrong. So basically, if you have 25,000 and 15,000 goes to your rent, then you can see where now the calculation goes up to. Initially, on the top video, I told you how you are supposed to calculate your rent when you're earning 50,000, and that brought us to 30% of your income should be allocated to your rent. It is not fixed, but that is the highest you are supposed to allocate on your rent when you're earning 50,000. So in this specific case, we have 50,000. Then we are now breaking now on the needs. What do you need for a month to month basis as far as your expenses is concerned? You need to take 50%. Now, when you take 50%, that is 25,000. Now, when you remove the 30% of your rent, that is 15,000. So you're left with 10,000. And on the 10,000, you can simply plan it like this. Groceries and food, you can allocate, let's say, 5,000 for an entire month, which I think should be enough to facilitate or to see you through. Then you can come and say your utilities and bills. Utilities and bills are things like, let's say, electricity, are things like the normal stuff that you're supposed to be doing in the house. That is 2,000. That is water, electricity, and gas. So you can allocate, let's say, 2,000. Then transportation. Remember, unless you're working remotely, which should be even better for you. But if you're somebody who commutes from your home to work on a day-to-day basis, then you also need transportation. And when you put that aside, you can consider putting 3,000 aside. So you'll see that you have saved 50. You have used 15,000 on your rent, 5,000 on your groceries, 2,000 on your utilities, and 3,000 on your transport. So it all adds up to the 25,000. Remember, this is not fixed, because at times you might find that somebody is saying, why should I pay 15,000 for my rent? Let me look for something that is quite affordable, and you get a house that is 10,000. That means you have saved 5,000 from that, and that is the way to go. 15,000 is just the highest you are supposed to consider paying as rent when you're in the bracket of earning 50,000 as your net salary. Then we come there to the wants. Now, on the ones, we are supposed to set 30% aside, and 30% aside is 15,000. Now, remember, the ones, They're the non-essentials. You can do away with it. You can survive without it for a month, but you need it. You need to take yourself out, maybe on an eatery. You need maybe to go and swim because that is your hobby, or rather travel from one place to another. But remember, you're also supposed to consider, how much am I earning, and is it really feasible? That is the most important question. Is it sustainable in the long run, or can I maybe do away with this month so that I can save the 15,000? Or if you must do it, then this is how you can go about it. So dining out and takeaways, you can maybe put 3,000 aside on the 15,000. Then on the entertainment, you can put, let's say, 4,000. And this on the entertainment means maybe you're paying for your Wi-Fi. By the Wi-Fi at times, right now it's close to being considered a basic need, mostly for those people who are working remotely. And even if you're not working remotely, you still need maybe to pay for the streaming services so that you are able to watch, and etc, etc, etc. Then personal care and shopping, maybe that is 3,000. So yes, I know we have put the shopping up there, but here you might need even to buy yourself clothes, you might need to buy yourself shoes, so you're also supposed to consider that there. Then you're also supposed just to put other leisure activities aside, and when you do that, you can allocate 5,000. This is for traveling and even miscellaneous expenses. A budget is not complete without having a miscellaneous expenses, so that should be cutted in the 15,000. How much are we left with? we've already spent uh, we've already spent 25. We are now here at 15. Now that leaves us with 35. So, no, that brings us to 35. So, when you left 50, we are left now with 15,000, which is on the 20% that we are looking at. That is savings and debt management. Sorry, we are now left with 10,000 because we've spent 25,000 on the 30%. Then on the 50%, we've spent 25,000. On the 30%, we've spent 15,000. Right now we are only left with 10,000. So 50 minus 40, that brings us to 10,000. So 10,000 is the 20% of the 50,000, which I consider it as your net salary. So how are you supposed to spend the remaining 10,000? Remember, we said on the remaining 10,000, that is where you're supposed to consider savings and also pay any debts that you might have accrued in the previous month. Or if you're servicing a debt, that is where now you need to remove that amount of money from the 10,000. So how do you go about it? When you get, let's say, you can say, okay, 5,000, let me put it on my savings. Either you save it on the low risk investment like MMF, that is the money market fund account. That is where you can do it. I wouldn't really advise you to put it on a fixed deposit account because of the low interest rates accrued per annum. So what you're supposed to do is to consider putting this 5,000 maybe on your MMF, maybe put it on your SACCOs, maybe go and buy. But for bonds, I think for 5,000 will not be enough, but I'll be touching that on another video. So this 5,000 is what you put aside for your savings. Then on your investments, you can also put around 3,000. Again on 3,000, you can consider putting it maybe on SACCOs. You can even consider putting it maybe on something that you're saving towards achieving a future goal. So if you have, let's say, a long term or a short term goal, that is where you can put that 3,000. Then on the debt repayment, you can put 2,000. Now, if you don't have any debt to service, I think good for you, because you'll have enough money to save. You can save 5,000 on your savings, then 5,000 on your investments, which I think would do just fine. So, with that said and done, we have looked at the 50-30-20 rule when it comes to breaking down your budget. Now, for me, I'll always advise people, the moment you receive your money, the first thing, you pay your bills, second thing, savings, third thing, investment, then your wants. Wants are the non-essential things you can do away with. So when you put your budget like that, I think that can be so good. But the 50-30-20 rule is just there to help you, give you an image of what you can work with, a vision of what you can work with, something that you can put on the table. Mostly those people who really don't know the have an in-depth understanding about deep budgeting. This is something which you can work with. You just take your entire salary, your net entire salary, and that is the 100%. Then you break it down. 50% is 50K, 30% is 30, and 20 is 20K. So when you add all of that, it gives you your total salary. Then you start now budgeting it as far as needs, wants, and savings are concerned. So with that said and done, I want to thank you so much for sticking with me towards the end of this video. Continue liking my video, continue sharing them with people who might benefit from the same content. And with that said and done, have a good day.